Welcome to another edition of Why Are You Awake? Paul Farahvar here, your host. This week we have comedian St. James Jackson. Check it out. If you're listening to it, go watch us on the YouTube channel. Make sure you follow St. James on all his endeavors. Follow me as well. Go to my website, paulfcomedy.com, to see my upcoming dates and details. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel at youtube.com/paulfcomedy. Follow me on Instagram, and also check out our sponsors. Hey, gang. As some of you know, I used to be a practicing lawyer in Chicago. I no longer practice, but from time to time, I need a lawyer. And when I need a lawyer, I call my friend Scott Shapiro. Scott Shapiro has been practicing law for over 25 years in Chicago. He does it all, from workers' compensation to personal injury, employment issues, and even entertainment law and contract needs. If you need a lawyer, call my friend Scott. 312-648-8800. That's 312-648-8800. Or you can email him at scott@scottshapirolegal.com. Tell him I sent you. You're welcome. It's time for another edition of Why Are You Awake? I'm Paul Farahvar. I'm your host. This week we have a comedian that I think I've known for 10 years. I think he was 7 years old when I saw him do comedy first. He was a fucking kid. The hilarious St. James Jackson. St. James.
Yes.
How are you doing today? Thanks for joining us.
I'm pretty good. I'm awake too. I'm excited.
So wait, I was doing the math here. I think you did the open mic at Laugh Factory when I hosted it. Do you remember how we met? Because it doesn't make sense with the math, because I think you're in your late 20s.
I'm in late 20s.
Okay, so you started comedy how long ago? When did you do the Laugh Factory first?
I want to say 19 or 20.
Okay.
Probably 20, but it might have been 19 too.
Okay. So was I hosting the open mic when you did it? I think
so, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember you did it, and I saw you do the open mic, and then you guys had a show pretty quickly after that, the Young Hustlers. And then you just took off, and then you forgot about all us old fucks.
Well, I mean, I'm on your podcast, so I didn't forget about you.
You didn't do my other podcast. You never did Singles Only because you were always dating.
I was dating. I was looking at this like, I'm probably the coolest single comedian you can have.
I think
I was dating. Yeah.
We talked about it. I looked at our messages, and then you're like, I'm not single anymore. Can I still do it? I'm like, no. Fucking things hell.
Well, but what is dating? What does single mean? I ain't really never been in a relationship.
I don't know why you didn't do it then.
Well, I'm lying. I've been in relationships. I was implying that I cheat, which I don't cheat, but that was a joke.
You're already in trouble 2 seconds into this podcast.
Yeah, man. They can't hold me to nothing.
St. James, you are a fixture at the Laugh Factory. I think whenever I'm there, I'd always see you there. You're always working hard.
I'm trying to make something of myself.
Out of nowhere, I saw you popping up online. You figured out the algorithm with your Man on the Street stuff, which is awesome. It's positive energy. It's funny and well recorded.
Thank you. I'm trying. Everything. Okay. Nah, man. Thank you. I mean, yeah, you know what we're doing. I'm just trying to find
No, I don't. Tell me what we're doing here.
Well, we're trying to get a bunch of people to look at us. And then when they look at us, we're like, hey, we're talented. We're cool people. Maybe one day invest some money to come see us live.
Yeah.
And so I somewhat enjoy talking to people, and I love talking to people. And that was just one of the ways I was like, oh, I think I can consistently do this and make it my own. The thing I like so far about doing Man on the Street is I'm not the first one to do it. But I'm slowly trying to move it and have my own touch to it. Because usually when you see Man on the Street, it's usually like a bunch of guys who are like 22, like, how many people have you had sex with? And I was like, I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah. You'll find your voice.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm trying. I'm just trying to use the medium slightly different. But yeah.
Right. I think everyone does it. There's ones that are political. There's ones that are sex related, whatever. And I think it's like you said, a lot of people have done it, but if you can do it well, I think the key is being likable and being genuine. And because you're already funny, the shit comes out automatically. And I feel like that's all it takes. And also being good looking.
Oh man, thank you.
And a good dresser.
I'm trying, man. You know, I just want somebody to love me. I've been single now, and it sucks I can't do your podcast.
Yeah, podcast isn't gone. That one's gone.
Yeah,
you're late.
What happened? Did you get married? What happened?
I just ended. It was 7 years, man. I didn't want to be like 60 years old, being like, all right, kids. Stay single. Look at how happy I am. My teeth fall out.
Well, let me ask you this. Did you hear about I don't know. Maybe Justin. It was a lady who had like a singles only podcast. She's very famous. I don't know her name. But the whole time she was doing it, right before it ended, she was actually dating somebody.
Oh, no way.
Did you hear about this?
No.
Oh, yeah. I got to remember who this is. This is a big podcast.
I don't know.
And then she happened to, whoever she's married to now, she was dating for like 2 years. Why 2 years?
And saying she was single?
And not only saying she was single, she was talking and telling ladies, which I'm not trying to make this a sex thing, but
telling her audience.
Yeah, telling her audience.
Mostly ladies.
Thank you. This is why,
I'm a lawyer.
Exactly.
Look at all the law degrees.
I see. Telling her audience, who were mostly ladies, to stay single, keep having casual sex, and do what you want to do. Which I don't even think the message is wrong, but I do think it's wrong to say that and then not be living the message. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's pretty bullshit. That's not authentic.
I agree. That's why that's why I always tell people, hey man, you gotta do some cocaine when you wake up. You know,
That's to be honest.
No, I don't do cocaine, but it's a fun thing to say.
I was single most of the time during my podcast, and
Is it because of comedy?
The owner of Laugh Factory said I had a show called Singles Only at Laugh Factory. Mm-hmm. He goes, you should do a podcast to promote it. And that's why I did the podcast. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what a fucking podcast was. This was 8 years ago. So like, I didn't even listen to a podcast yet. I think I listened to one episode of.
Ooh, he was a pioneer.
Yeah, I was a pioneer. Again. I don't know what that means, but yeah, I mean, and then it just blew, especially during COVID. Holy shit. The numbers
blew up?
Yeah, I mean, we got thousands and thousands of listeners on every episode.
That's so cool. What made you stop? Just tired?
It just felt like it was getting older. Whatever, I might bring it back. I don't know. We'll see how this one goes. We're 15, 16 episodes in. We need something to happen.
It doesn't take long.
You got to say something crazy so we can go viral.
I agree.
Tell us what you're saying before about how you don't think women are equal comedians.
No. I love women, especially when they let me, do things. Consensually. Yeah, I got you.
I almost got you canceled. The whole show is going to be me trying to get you canceled.
No, don't worry. People know who I am. The cool thing about my social media presence is I already say shit. Yeah. But that's why I go to church on Sundays. You can't.
You do go to church on Sundays.
I do. I learned from Trump. As long as you go to church. I mean, you don't even have to believe in God. If you just go to church, they'll let you do whatever you want to do.
Why don't you start selling Bibles and shit too?
Fuck, you make a good idea. You make a good point.
You should sell them as your merch.
The St. James, it's already St. James Bible.
I know, but be like the St. James Jackson Bible.
Oh, fuck. Can I have that?
Yeah. Fucking.
That's so funny. Selling Bibles after my comedy show is nuts.
You do talk about Jesus a little bit on stage?
A little bit, but it's all... I have jokes about being religious, and they're not necessarily bad jokes, but... I don't know if I should be selling the Bible. That I might be asking for a little trouble. If Trump
can do it, anyone can do it, dude. Are you fucking kidding me? You actually go to church. Like, if you ever watched an interview of Donald Trump when he's asked, "What's your favorite passage?" and he says, "All of them."
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even Christian, but I can say I could just say Corinthians,
John
like whatever.
3:16, Corinthians
say 1, something crazy.
Something.
Yeah. He doesn't even know the names. You actually been to church what?
Most of my life,
at least 1,000 times in your life.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you can sell Bibles, St. James
and St. James Bibles. I like that.
Or at least your shirts should say and just have a picture of the Bible on it. You know,
what if it's me shaking hands with Jesus, Black Jesus? That's pretty cool.
There you go.
St. James and Jesus.
I think that's your merch, dude. I don't know why. Well, what is your name? St. James? It's your given name.
Given name.
So you have every right to sell anything that says St. James on it.
But you do know my act is not. I'm not the cleanest comedian by any mean.
You don't have to be clean to be loved by Jesus.
I agree. That's my favorite part about Jesus. If he was walking around with sinners and prostitutes, I was like, that's my type of guy.
This is your whole version of your Bible. Why don't you just sell the Bibles along with whatever else you're selling as your merch?
One, I never thought about it, but now I'm convinced. I also think that's so funny, like to be on stage for 20 minutes talking about beating off, taking shits, how fucking crazy my sex life is. I'm like, and then get a Bible.
Well, you know what? It evens it out, right? Because you're spreading the gospel, and you can do that to make yourself relieved of sins.
Honestly, that's a great point. Honestly, I'm trying to help people get the lustfulness out. before I bring it back to God.
So you said you grew up in the church.
Yes.
Since you were a kid, you went to church.
For the most part, yes. Well,
were there years where you didn't go because you were mad at God?
No, it was years I didn't go because my mom wasn't going.
Okay, so she was mad at God.
Yeah, or had a problem with drugs. I can't tell, but for whatever reason, she didn't go to church. But when I moved to Chicago, I stayed with my grandma, and my grandma was like a church-going lady. So it was a point.
She raised you?
Yeah, she raised me from high school up until like 21, 22.
Okay.
It was a point in my life from 14 to 22 where I was going to church 3 times a week. 3 to 4 times a week. Yeah, exactly. So because of that, like, so even the times I missed as a kid, like in Georgia, I wouldn't go all the time, but I made up for it. Like I was putting up numbers as a teenager.
So 14 and under, you didn't go to church at all?
I did.
You did, and then your mom stopped going, and you stopped going? It was
just, my mom is like most Americans. She's how you would say this? What would I call it? She's like a cafeteria Christian. Mm-hmm. She picks and choose. So like when I was living with her in Georgia, she would go to church like once or twice a month or once or twice every other month, but that's it. Compared to my grandma was going literally 3 times a week.
Sunday, Friday,
and Tuesday.
Tuesday night?
Tuesday night, yes. So Bible study.
This is where, on the south side? West side?
All over. So when I was in
Where'd you grow up?
In Chicago, west side. West side and south side.
Okay.
So in Chicago, we own a church on the west side of Chicago. It's a big church. So we go there on Sundays, but then you go to other people's churches, south side, west side. Then we go to Bible study, our church.
You went to Bible study in addition to those 3 days, or that was part of the 3 days?
Part of the 3 days.
Okay, fine.
But on top of that, you have like sometimes Sunday, a lot of times Sundays, you have 3 services. Friday you go. Sometimes every once in a blue moon, Saturday. Tuesday, Wednesday, every now and then you have a Wednesday you go. Yeah, man, I was in church so much that I'm like, bro, I love God. I love God so much. I was like, bro, I would deal with you on my personal time at my house.
Yeah.
But I don't need to go to church anymore.
I feel holy just sitting with you at this point. I feel like
and it's definitely
I feel him in the room because of you.
Yeah, it definitely is a cool thing, but at some point at the age of 20, I was like, man, I've heard all of these stories 3 times over. My grandma...
It's like reruns.
Yeah, my grandma at that time, I mean, she's like 86 now, so it was 10 years, she was like 74, 75, and she's been going to church 3 times a week for 20, 30 years. I was like, you not bored?
No, because it's like a comfort level. You've seen the episode of Seinfeld, but you still watch it. It's like a comfort level.
That's so funny. God is just like Seinfeld.
You're going to watch, you see those shows, it's like comfort food. Like there's like so many shows you'll watch, old sitcoms. I don't know what shows you watch, but Seinfeld for me is like, or Office. A lot of people love watching The
people
Office.
love The Office. I like Seinfeld more than The Office.
Yeah, me too.
No, I get your point. And it was cool. And so the other good thing about church, and I think part of the reason why a lot of people in my generation are more depressed is because there was a community behind it. Like you go there, like my grandma, all her friends were from the church.
Right. When it's a social aspect of it. Yeah.
It's a big one. When I was younger, most of my friends were from the church and high school. And so that helps too. And it kind of sucks because I don't think religion's what you need to stay like on the path of happiness, but I do think religion. It definitely helps. I'm not even saying it. Yeah, but I think being around people who have a similar thought as you definitely helps you stay happy.
Well, I think you stay happy, but then you're in your own little vacuum of yes-anding everything people say. Like you need to be exposed to different ideas to grow as a human. Like if we agree on everything, what's the point of life? Like they're going to be like, oh yeah, that's true. Like even with politics, people are like, that guy fucking voted for Trump. I can't talk to him. It's like, well, maybe you should talk to him so you know why 50% of the country
voted for Trump. Yeah, I agree.
And I don't judge you for voting for Trump. I think it's fine. You like him, it's fine.
I did not vote for Trump, and I won't vote for Trump. And I'm not pro-Trump as president. As a human being, I mean, I'm not gonna beat a dead horse, but he is the funniest guy on the planet by far.
He's doing stand-up out there.
But to your point, I've never judged people for in just liking them. It's just dumb.
If they're Jewish, you hang out with Jews all the time.
Hold
on. I'm half.
Me? Oh, I love the Jews. I got my ex are Jewish. Some of my closer friends are Jewish. I stay. I stay with the Jews.
My best friend is black.
Yeah, that's it.
So you moved to Chicago freshman in high school?
Yeah.
That's got to be hard from...
No, I become, it's funny enough, I think I become more awkward the older I get. No, as a kid, I was not awkward at all. Well, yes, that's a hard question. It's nuanced. I was very much awkward.
Well, for Chicago, because you're coming here from the South, you probably had a little accent.
Yeah, I definitely had a Southern accent. Making friends wasn't hard for me because as a kid, I'm an only child. And when I was in Georgia, it was just me and my mom. So I learned quickly as a kid how to make friends. That was my defense mechanism, is making people like me. Hence the comedian. Hence being a comedian, people pleaser. But so when I moved to Chicago, I have a big family. I don't have any siblings, but I have like probably 45 fucking cousins.
In Chicago?
Yeah.
Okay. Real cousins or like cousins? Like in the
cousins.
In the black community
cousin.
and the Persian community, we call people cousins. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, that's my cousin. I'm like, are you by blood? You're like, well, somewhere down the line.
You know what's funny about that?
Here's our first cousins. Okay.
To your point, when I was a kid.
Persians do that too. It's funny. Yeah.
To your point, when I was a kid, my mom, she has a lot of best friends. And as a kid, I would meet her best friends throughout my childhood. And all her best friends, all she called was like, she would tell me,
auntie.
Well, not even my auntie and my godparent.
Oh yeah.
I grew up thinking I had like 25 godparents. Every time she saw somebody she liked, it's like, oh, that's your godmom. That's your god. And I didn't know what this was. I was like, oh, I just thought that was just something.
Everyone has 20 godparents.
Yeah, I just thought we all had 25 godparents.
Everyone's looking out for you.
I always think that's so funny. So when I moved here, I came here, I moved here, I stayed with my father for a year. But the reason why I moved here is because I wasn't doing well in Georgia. I kept getting in trouble.
Trouble for what?
In
eighth grade, you mean, or in freshman year?
No, 8th grade. So I moved here this summer of freshman year.
What kind of trouble were you getting into in 8th grade? It's the statute of limitations is run. You could talk about it.
Oh, well, I'm not. It's so funny. I just don't know where to start. I mean, I was getting in the wrong crowd. Fights, stealing, breaking shit.
You were acting out.
Yeah, exactly.
So you get here, your dad puts some discipline in you, and your grandma shows you Jesus again.
Yeah, in a perfect world, but no, that's not what happened. I get here, my dad, just because it's my father, I'm inherently just better because I'm just a guy around me.
Sure.
So I just
father figure.
Yeah, he naturally just fall into his line. And then he shifts me to my grandma's house, and all that naughtiness comes back out. All that thing that I was leaving in Georgia is like, oh, fuck that guy. There's a reason why he was being like this, because he doesn't want to be in your life. So then I get to Lincoln Park High School, and I immediately become like I think it was sophomore year. I get into a bunch of drugs, mostly weed. Drugs is true. I started smoking a bunch of weed. Start skipping class. I get in a lot of trouble, but I think the reason why I was able to fall in love with comedy so quick is I get out all my bullshit, at least most of it, in high school. Like, I was in a lot of trouble in high school.
You get out of it talking your way out of it?
Oh, no. I mean, I was able, well, I talk my way out of a lot of shit.
What do you mean you got out of it then?
I got it out of my system is what I mean.
Sorry.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So
you got it out of your system, then you cleaned up a little bit when you went to Lincoln Park too.
Yeah, well, so in
Which
Lincoln
is a
Park,
good high school.
It was a good high school. I'm surprised they let me in.
So you were commuting here from where? From your grandma's house?
From the west side, from Austin. Do you know where that's at?
Yeah, I know where it is. That's
hour out. Yeah, this is the thing nobody talks about. It was an hour. Yeah. It was 2 hours out of my day just gone. Hour there, hour back home. It was awful.
Well, Are there people commuting with you? Like, did you?
Me and my homies would go home together and not come because we didn't live in a similar situation. We couldn't come together
But you could take the ride home.
We could because we can choose how to go. We can choose how to go home where we're all in the same place at the same time. Yeah.
So in high school, though, you got it out of your system, but you were partying. You were a cool kid. Were you good at sports or something?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I was supposed to be on all the teams. I always had F's.
Grades were keeping you back.
Grades. I didn't go to school.
That leads to bad grades.
That's what it was.
So you're not going to school, but you're going to church 3 times a week. Do you see that there's a fucking weird problem?
Yeah, that's usually how it happens. Yeah, and so to answer your question, that's why it was good. I firmly believe, not to call Lincoln Park racist, but I do firmly believe the reason why I was able to be such a bad kid is because they just assumed that black kids from the hood weren't going to be shit. Because they
didn't want to invest time in you. They're like, fuck it.
Yeah, I didn't come to school. Like, I have friends I had white friends who would skip class with me all the time, and then randomly one day, like, oh, I got to go to class. They called my dad. I never one day, when my dad found out I was skipping school, it was after I had skipped almost a year of school, and he was like, what have you been doing? Also, why you didn't tell me? But what have you been doing? That's how he found out. My homies were like, oh yeah, I got to go to school. They called my dad. I was like, that's crazy.
Your white friends.
Yeah. My white friends. And I'm like, no, that's crazy. I don't even think they have my dad's number. I'm living my life.
Like, well, let's just let it go. We don't want to deal with it.
It did teach me a very bad habit, which is, I can kind of just bullshit around and at the last second, just get your shit together. And then people will let you, if you're cool enough, a smooth enough talker, and you put some puppy eyes on, people let you pass by.
Did you, when you say you cleaned up, what do you mean? Like you you got out of that crowd, or everyone else in your crowd also cleaned up, or how did you like?
I really never stopped ditching school until maybe senior year when I realized like, I kind of need to graduate high school. The end of sophomore year and junior year is I would, at the end of the semester, I was good with finals. I was always good with tests. I don't know what it is. And I'm not even that smart of a guy. I'm just a good crammer, which is what tests are. Right before the finals, I would go talk to my teachers. I would put puppy dog eyes on, and I would just tell them, hey, I would just look in. For some reason, I was hyper aware at that time, like, I'm sorry, I'm having life issues. My father's not around. I would play that part.
Yeah,
and they would fold every time.
It,
yeah, I'm like, I have problems. I don't know what's happening. Life is hard on me. Is there any way you can give me a chance? And they all go, yeah. Here's a bunch of makeup work. If you pass the final, you'll pass. I do the makeup work. I pass the final. Every year.
What were you doing with the times where you were ditching school then? Like, were you just staying out?
Living my best. Well, at that time.
What could you be doing at 16, 17? You can't go to bars. Did you have a fake ID or something?
No. I was smoke weed.
And
I would
walk.
go on adventures.
Yeah. I saw you. You're right here. I probably walked
you know what? You
by
didn't see me. I will, especially if you live in this apartment.
Yeah, I lived here.
At that time?
Yeah, I've lived here for
20 years. There's no way
years.
you didn't see me. I would smoke weed. Me and my friends will go. I'm going to put you on game. I would come to school. I
used to bust kids smoking all the time. Like, hey, guys, I don't care if you guys smoke pot, but just stop doing graffiti. They would like graffiti.
Yeah, I didn't do that. I wasn't.
They weren't like, it was like with markers. It wasn't like gang signs. I'm like, I know you guys are Lincoln Park, but.
I would come to school, get there. What was also crazy, sometimes I'll get there early, not often, but come to school, smoke a little weed, go into the cafeteria. This is how cool I was. I would be skipping class, but the lunch ladies and security guards, most of them would fuck with me, so that they didn't really get mad. Well, I don't think they knew I was skipping, because the way Lincoln Park works is our schedules are different, so you can be technically starting school.
They wouldn't know, right?
Yeah. So I'll come in, go to lunch after everybody's gone, like, hey, y'all got any leftover food? They're like, oh, we got some for you, baby. They make me a nice plate.
Oh, that's awesome.
Sit there, smash the plate, go back out, smoke weed.
By yourself or with your friends?
With my homies. From there, usually it was always 1 or 2 classes I liked. The 2 classes I liked was gym and math. There's only 2 classes I fucked with: gym, math, and if it was one class I wanted to talk to a lady, that. So either go back for gym, after gym, come back out, go hoop for like 2 hours with my homies, smoke weed, hoop. From there, like, fuck it, tired, maybe go back, go get a lunch, come back out, go to Guitar Center.
Oh, yeah, in Halstead.
Yeah, play guitar all day with my homies. Leave there, go to Jimmy John's, get some Day-O bread. From Day-O bread, come back, hit math class, get that, leave there. From there, talk to my coach, like, hey, man, I'm doing good. He's like, okay, try to see if I can do that. Then leave, then go back, hoop again. By then, class is out. So come back, talk to all my friends I didn't see in the class I was supposed to be in, hang out with them, and then go home. And I just did that every day.
Like in high school, were you partying too? Were you drinking in high school?
No, this is the crazy thing about this. My grandma, because she didn't know, she was a strict lady. So I couldn't, what's funny is the whole time I was being a bad kid, quote, bad kid. But at some point in time, I had to go home. I didn't stay out till dark. Once it started to get dark, I was going home at like 5 and 6. Like, my homies who were going to class were staying out drinking and partying. I was in my house.
Were you staying up late by yourself those nights, like in high school? Were you like a night owl? What were you doing?
Gaming. It was always gaming.
Gaming?
Yeah.
What about after high school? So what happened? You've graduated on time with your class?
Yeah. Senior year, I was a little bit better about it. Because by senior year, at this point, my whole family now knows I don't go to school. So now people understand that I'm not the guy. Because, as you know, Paul, and I've been this way even when I was a kid, I'm a nice guy. So when you find out that it's the same thing like when people find out like I like to party now. They're like, oh, that's interesting. Or they're like, because you come off as such like a sophisticated guy. Same in high school. I was always a nice kid. You just assumed I was doing what I was supposed to. So when you find out that I literally have never been in school for like 2 months, you're like, you fucking liar. Who are you? So at this point, my family is like, who the fuck is this kid? Yeah.
So were you doing comedy at that point? You started doing comedy pretty young though, right?
I started doing comedy at the end of high school. Okay. So at this point,
when you graduated, did you know you were going to do, what did you think was going to happen?
By senior year, the people know who I am, and that's kind of fucking with my head. So at this point, I'm trying to get my shit together. Also, this is what I was trying to get to. People know who I am, and my family and friends and my
teacher. They know that you were fucking off.
And they started to lose faith in me. So when it was on the table, you know, that I could graduate on time, that kind of made me go, let me see if I could do it just to prove I could. So that kind of got me going. By the end of senior year, where all my friends is deciding to go to college and everybody's like, they're committed, that started to hit me that I'm not going to college. And then I started to look for other paths. That's when, around that time, Kevin Hart is kind of blowing up. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, a short, funny black guy who's insecure, but it makes it funny about it. I was like, maybe that could be me. Lincoln Park is a very good school. It also has a really good arts program. Yeah. So I was in the band. Oh, that was actually the only thing I did.
You were in band too.
I was in band.
Saxophone?
Trombone at the time. Okay. You
said saxophone before. I'm not being racist, just so you know. We were talking about saxophone.
No, yeah, and that's fine. Also, of all the things, that's not.
I did it for them. I know.
Yeah.
No, I would have said bass. Bass guitar.
That would have been. There it is. No, so band was actually the only class I think I went to every day for all of the. Most times I went to band. That was the band and gym and sometimes math. Yeah, those are classes I liked. So we have every year we always had this really big talent show. Like it was a big event. I see this and I'm thinking, fuck it, maybe I can try stand up. At this point, like I said, I said that to say this. All my friends are like musicians. They're all like, I don't know if you went there, but in that type of school, in that school, all of them were like drummers, guitars, bass players. That's all the people I was hanging out with. And the ones, or like theater geeks. And I was never that. Like, you're not going to play trombone in a band. So I always kind of wanted to be a part of that. I didn't have anything. I was always funny. That was the thing I was known for in school. Even though I didn't go to, the crazy thing about me, Paul, is even though I didn't go to school, I was known in school. I had to answer your question, I was extremely popular, especially for a guy who never walked in the building.
So the talent show comes, you decide you're going to do stand-up comedy?
I decided to do stand-up comedy. And that...
Had you ever done any sort of performance outside of with a musician?
No, that was the first time I did. I told some of my teachers and my counselor I want to do stand-up. And my teachers, and not to be too corny about it, they would let me... I ran my act before I did the talent show for my peers.
In class?
Mm-hmm, my teachers let me go up in the class.
At the end of class?
Yes, yeah. So that was cool.
How long were you doing?
5
minutes?
5-10 minutes. But it was all like high school shit.
Yeah.
Like, isn't it crazy that they give us this whack ass lunch?
Yeah, what's 2% milk?
Yeah. But crushing. I ain't gonna lie, crushing with that shit.
You know your audience.
And then I did. And then from there I did the talent show. We packed it out. It was like 300 people. I'm never gonna forget this. I was so fucking nervous. It was so many people there, and the whole talent show, I really mean this, was good. Like, all my friends and all my peers were so good. People were singing, fucking a bunch of like bands were playing, some fucking music. It was like talented.
Was there anyone else doing comedy, or were you the only one?
I was the only one doing comedy. Principal at the time, who hated my fucking guts, and rightfully so. I was a bad kid. He came up to me after and he goes, Mr. Jackson, I just want to tell you, my family thought you was the best one.
Wow.
Right? And to this day, I remember that shit. I remember thinking, what? I'm like, ah! And
did you crush, or do you have a copy of that?
I have a copy. I did well. Okay. I did well relative to the fact that it was technically the first time I did it.
Right.
If you watch it now, it's horseshit. Of course,
yeah.
But in the moment, and you can hear me doing well. I was definitely doing well, but it was well for what that was.
Correct.
Yes. After I graduated, I took some time off comedy because I didn't know how to start stand up. It took me a while. It took me probably until like 19 to figure out to do open mics. So
what were you doing during that time?
The first month,
not just with comedy, but what were you doing with your life?
When I graduated high school, what I was doing right after high school was I think I got a job at Jimmy John's. I did do stand-up a few times, but I bombed. I snuck into a couple bars, and I did stand-up, and I did really bad. Yeah.
We're all still figuring it out.
Yeah, exactly.
So what are you doing at nights? Are you still living with your grandma?
Oh, at that time. Oh, so after high school at nights. Oh, you know, I'm doing. What you
were
went
you
to
still
college.
strict? Was she still strict? She let you hang out?
No, by then, yeah, she let me hang. She gave me rules, but by then, at this point, that summer, all I was doing was biking the whole city. I was biking like a maniac. I love biking. I used to bike from west side to this side, just being a bike messenger, smoking a bunch of weed, drinking all the time, hanging out with my homies, talking about how dope life is. Just sit in the park and just talk about nothing and just laugh the whole night. I miss them days. Did you have them days?
No.
Did you go straight to college? Yeah.
I went straight to college, but I partied a lot in high school and college. I partied more in high school than I did any time in my
And
life.
a lot of partying at that thing.
But I was drinking. I was smoking weed too, but mostly drinking.
I was, at that time, smoking mostly. I didn't start really power drinking, and I was drinking then, but I was a pothead first, and then a drinker second, and now I'm more of a drinker than a pothead. Mm-hmm. I mean, I almost ruined my fucking life smoking weed. Like, that's why I'm trying to make sure I'm clear about this. I was not going to school because, in hindsight, I might have been addicted to marijuana. Like, maybe not.
Whatever.
But
It's habit forming.
Yeah,
habit forming.
For sure. I mean, I was definitely not walking into that building because I was smoking a lot of weed.
You guys would go smoke weed in the park or whatever till 9. Then you go home. Your grandma wouldn't give a shit if you came home at like 1 in the morning or what? Was she like, where have you been? I'm talking about after high school. We're talking about 19. You're like, you're going
18,
out.
19, nah, I had to be, it would depend. My uncle lived in the house too. He'll let me in. I can come in sometimes that late, but it couldn't be consistent. Not that she didn't let me start coming in at like 1 and 2 in the morning until I was like 20, 21.
Okay.
18, 19, I still had to be in like 12. If I wasn't going to be at 12, I had to call. And
were you staying up late at home at that point, or were you like a night owl at that point, or were you more like?
So I couldn't come in. This is the funny thing about, I don't know if you're black parents. I couldn't come in.
Did you say you don't know if I had black parents?
No. I don't know if your parents were like this, but the crazy thing about black parents is, at least my grandma, and she's not my parent, but I couldn't come in a house like that late, but I could stay out that late.
Sure.
So if I was like at a homie's crib, which a lot of times I would be, or to stay out late enough, well, this is what I would do. It was two ways I played. My grandma used to pray at 5 o'clock in the morning. Like, you know, she was like that type of lady. So sometimes I would stay out all night partying and then party until 4 or 5 or like to 3 or 4 and then just like force myself to stay up, come to the house at like 4:30 when she was waking up and walk in the house, which in hindsight, I don't know why that's fine, but walk in the house and then she's fine with that because she can walk in and be like, oh, I'm here for the prayer. And just like yeah, I'll just and be fucked up too. And to be fair, you know, but I'll give myself.
She doesn't care.
Yeah.
She's just, you're there to pray with her.
Exactly. And then I'll pray with her for an hour and then I'll go to sleep for the rest of the day.
So what about after 19? Then you start doing comedy and you find comedy, find your niche. What are you doing after shows now? Like, are you staying up late?
Yeah.
Okay.
Around 20, 21, 22. Now this is 21, 22, like most people, that's drinking now. Now is I'm doing 3-4 mics a night. And after that, I'm drinking, probably hanging out with some lady, probably hanging out with some homie, and going clubbing. Probably clubbing. Yeah, if that ain't like 21, 22, yeah.
What clubs were you going to?
Slippery Slope. I spent a lot of time at the Owl, Slippery. I spent a lot of time in Logan. I don't know why why. White friends, I guess.
Comedians.
I ain't gonna lie, I spent way too much time at Big Shitty or Big City.
Yeah.
At 22, I don't know why.
Everyone
spent a lot of time
it's a rite of passage. You have no choice. You have to end up there.
I spent a lot of time there. Had a lot of good nights there too. I'm not gonna lie. Big Shitty is real terrible until it's not, and they're like, oh shit. Who'd have thought?
There's a certain point where you're there too often when you know the staff or you see the same people, and you're like, I should probably move away.
Yeah, I remember being like 22. And like like 2 or 3 times randomly making out with a chick at like 3 o'clock in the morning after the drop and thinking I was a god. Just like,
well, that place used to be a late night bar before that too. So when I was in my 20s, that was the spot then too, because they always had a late license. They just changed the name, and that was the spot. I fucking forgot the name of the place, but it was awesome back then too. It was just like where everyone went at the end of the night. It was like stragglers.
I used to love that place.
Yeah, those were fun times. You're still doing comedy, but you're doing.
I'm mostly doing comedy.
So you're just partying after the shows.
Party.
Well, drinking.
Yeah, and unless I mean, it's hard because I definitely was clubbing. On the weekends, I was clubbing. On the weekdays, I was just up. Because at that time, you know, at 22, which I miss, I can't do it now as much. It's like I can do 5 mics, get fucked up, go home, fall asleep at like 3:34, and still get up at like 6 or 7 and not 6 or 7 and not feel it, which I can't do now. I can, but not every day.
Are you staying? So you still wake up in the morning, even no matter what time you go to bed at?
Are you talking about at 22, 23?
Anytime. How about now? Are you staying up till 3 now?
No, not till 3. I'm consistently up. When I'm doing good, I'll go to sleep at like 11 and 12, but a lot of times it's 1 or 2. Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about now. So now you're a comedian, you're doing shows. You have your Friday show at the Laugh Factory. Mm-hmm. That's a late show. You get out of there about 10:30, 11 usually.
11, yeah.
What are you doing after the show?
Probably grabbing a drink with either the homies, or sometimes I bring dates there, so I'll go grab a drink with them. Or if not, most times I go grab a drink with the comedians and just go hang for an hour or 2.
Are you still, when you say your homies, are you still hanging out with your friends who are not comedians?
No, this is comics.
Homies are comics.
Yeah,
okay.
now, yeah.
So you're going out after to the bars with the comedians. You're not writing or anything late at night. You're not creative at that time frame, or are you?
Not in that regard, especially not after a show.
Not after shows.
Yeah, if I'm up late at night, I hate to tell you, it's not super productive.
No, I'm not either. Some people are lunatics and they go home and write. I'm not that guy either. Mm-hmm. But I know after a show, you're not gonna fall asleep for a while. Especially the energy. It takes a couple hours to get down.
Nah, I'm pretty on that.
I don't drink anymore, but when I mean, I'm not sober either. But like when I would drink after shows, it was fun because you're like, that would help me go to sleep earlier, if anything, because alcohol slows you down. Mm-hmm. Are you going to like clubbing still?
No, I'm trying to. It depends. So there's a few comedians I hang out with now who are 22, which that's kind of sucks. And you know who I'm talking about.
I don't know, but that's all right.
That's it.
I don't know anybody. I feel like you're all 22. I still see you as 22, dude.
Well, I'm not. As much as I would like to be, I'm not. I'm 28.
You don't want to be 22, do you really? You think you'd rather be 22?
No,
be a
not
dumb
22.
Fucking kid versus now. Look at your life now.
My life is pretty dope. Yeah. But but 22 is 22. But no, I don't want to be 22. 25 maybe, but not 22.
Okay.
But I hang out with a few of the newer comedians who are 22, and they want to go clubbing. And every now and then I do that. But if it's up to me, I just go to a bar.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I'm very content with a drink or two and having a real deep conversation with a friend. Mm-hmm. Or a drink or two and talking batshit crazy to a friend. But that's where I'm at. Like, that's cool. I don't need the club. I also don't like the club.
Yeah.
I didn't
too
like,
loud.
Yeah, I didn't like exactly. I didn't like the club when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It was a small period of time where I enjoyed going to the club. It was a big period of time where I was going to the club because I thought that was the only way I could get laid. Uh-huh. And then I've just now learned with age that that's not true.
If anything, it's worse for you. Well, you're good looking too, but for comedians, it's better to not go to a club because the club evens everyone out, right? It just goes by looks. Whereas we're good at talking, we're better where they can hear you, and you can have game, and the other guys are just good looking guys. But when the music stops, they'll be like, "Oh, what's your favorite color?" Like,
I agree.
You got shit that you can joke about, you can talk about.
I agree.
Substance.
What sometimes me and my friends would do. I don't know what you call it, but I would just like, it's funny because I'll be at the club, can't pick up anybody. Just can't. And then I'll walk out the club and just be me and be drunk and just talk to people on the street and just pull a bunch of numbers.
Yeah.
Happens every time.
I do that all the time too when I was younger.
Yeah. And it's so funny because
that's where the music stops and you can talk to people.
Exactly. But I think
it's also like throwing Hail Marys too. You're like, fuck it, it's the end of the night. I don't give a shit.
And you're just having a good time. But I think it's so funny because it didn't click to me in the moment. They're like, bro, why walk into that club where you could just sit out here and but it never. I'm so mad. I'm like, why do you think of this? So
when I was in college, what we would do was Thursday nights was the best night to go out. At University of Illinois, and it was $1 a night drinks. We used to go out, but sometimes we couldn't get out. Or Wednesday night we couldn't go out because we had to study or whatever. So we'd work as much as we could, and then the bars closed at 1, and we call 12:30. We go out for just one drink, and it was called the straggler hour. And you just like throw whatever game you had. It's the last hour. You might pick up, you might not. But it was like little amount of investment. You didn't have to spend the whole day at a bar with your dick in your hand from 8 to 1 in the morning. It was just like 45 minutes.
My homie used to tell me, which is crazy, he goes, you don't really want it unless you're out to 4 o'clock in the morning. He said the rookies go in at 1 and 2. The real man come out
stay out at 4. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like late night, I was a late night person. I had fear of missing out, so I was always going to the bars that open, like Big Shitty, the Drop. Gamekeepers was a spot before that was late night. All these late night bars because I didn't want to go home. If I started drinking, I'm like, I might as well keep going until the last bar closes.
Yeah, same way. That's crazy. I also have big FOMO. It's got slightly better, but I still have it. Now that you say, I spent a lot of time as a young man being out just because I was afraid of what I was going to miss.
Yeah.
And to be fair, you do miss stuff when you're younger, but now it's like, did I really miss it?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like there's more nights that I regret being out than opposed to the other way around. We're like, oh, fuck, I missed that. You guys all had a good night. So-and-so showed up. I didn't get any. Most of the time, I'm like, fuck, why did we go to hang-ups? That's the worst decision we've ever made.
That's funny. It's funny because I'm getting close to that. I'm getting close to the point. Last few times I hung out, I would have much rather just went in my house and watched sports for like an hour and a half and went to bed. I'm so content with that. Or play video games. You know what I do like doing? Reading at night is amazing. Underrated. No?
I don't like doing that. I like reading, but not at night. When are you writing the most? When are you most productive now?
Late morning, evening.
Are you writing at home? Are you going? Do you have like a spot that you go write?
No, I can't write at home. I've noticed recently in the last couple of weeks, I've been going to a coffee shop, and that's really helped me be more productive.
You can write at home, or you can't?
I can write at home, but I'm more productive when I leave my house.
Yeah.
Just
feels like you're doing something.
It just helps a lot.
Yeah.
I'm trying to write more, and I do write a decent amount, but I wouldn't consider myself a writer. I am a guy who likes to think of thoughts, and I have them, and then I go on paper and punch them up. But I'm not a guy who sits down and writes.
Do you go on stage with the thoughts you have recorded and then go back? Yeah, that's what I do. That's the way to do it. Excellent. Thanks for coming to do the podcast, St. James. I learned a lot about you that I didn't know. And now I'm going to go back and look at the video footage of the people that fucking smoked in my alley and see if you were there.
That's so funny.
I'm just kidding. Where can people find out about the projects you have? You have the show Fridays at the Laugh Factory, Something Unexpected. And then you have your Man on the Street on Instagram. Is that where it primarily is?
Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. All those you can find at Life of St. James. St. James spelled STJAMES. Life of St. James. And you can find all my shows. You can go to my website, stjamescomedy.com.
And where can they get these Bibles? The new St. James Jackson Bibles.
I like them. You can go to stjamescomedy.com and they will be available in 1 month, I swear.
Well, thanks, St. James, for joining me on the podcast. I really appreciate it. Thank you all for listening to or watching another edition of Why Are You Awake?